what if reality is a simulation? You look around and everything seems real. The table is solid, your body is yours, the sky is above your head. But what if this is just a game? A complex program? A simulation into which we've been immersed? Madness? Perhaps. But that's exactly what some philosophers, scientists, and even engineers believe. The idea that reality might be an illusion is as old as the world. Plato wrote of the cave, where people see only shadows on the wall and believe that to be reality. In Hinduism, there is the concept of Maya, the illusion of the world that hides true being. Buddhism teaches, everything we call I and the world is nothing more than perception, so the thought that reality might not be real has always accompanied humanity. Today, this idea has taken a new form, the simulation hypothesis. Philosopher Nick Bostrom argues, if a civilization becomes advanced enough, it will be able to create simulations of realities indistinguishable from the real one. And if it's possible to create billions of simulations, then statistically, it's more likely that we're already living inside one of them. Scientists are finding strange glitches, the limits of physics, as if they were restrictions in a program, the mathematical structure of the universe, as if it were code, and odd coincidences that feel like system errors. If reality is a simulation, then what are we? Players, characters, or just lines of code inside someone else's program? Maybe death is not the end, but simply logging out of the game. Maybe déjà vu is a system error. Maybe dreams are connections to another level of the simulation. But then the question arises, if everything is a program, do we really have free will? Or is every choice we make already written in the code? Philosophers argue, even if the world is a simulation, it doesn't erase meaning, because meaning is what we create ourselves, even inside an illusion. Mystics would put it differently. The world has always been an illusion. It doesn't matter whether we call it Maya, a dream, or a computer simulation. What matters is not the code, but what we do inside it. Imagine a video game. You're fully immersed. You feel pain, joy, fear, but when you take off the headset, you realize it was only a level. Maybe our life is exactly such a level. If reality is a simulation, then death is not the end. It's just returning to the menu. And then the main question sounds like this. Are you playing seriously, or just following someone else's code? We are used to thinking that reality is solid and reliable. But what if its laws are nothing more than algorithms? The speed of light, a graphics limit, quantum jumps, bugs in the code, black holes, the system's trash bins, where unwanted data is deleted. Every impossible could just be a line in the program. Physicists already ask questions that sound like science fiction. Why is the universe described by such simple mathematical formulas? Why are the laws of nature universal and constant? Why are the numbers that govern the cosmos so precise, as if they've been tuned? Maybe because they have been tuned. So, what do we know about the programmers? Are they gods, or mortal beings just far more advanced? Perhaps our universe is only one of millions of simulations in their laboratories. Perhaps they restart us over and over, testing different scenarios, and we are nothing but variables in their equations. But if that's the case, where is freedom? What does it mean to choose, if every option is already scripted? Philosophers disagree. Some say freedom is just an illusion, like reality itself. Others argue, even within rules, there is choice. After all, in a game, you still choose your path, and maybe that is true freedom, to play consciously, even in a simulation. But then another question arises, why all of this? Why create a world with pain, death, love, and hope? Why write suffering into the code of the universe? Maybe the simulation is an experiment. Maybe we were created to be studied. Maybe we are a living lesson, not for ourselves, but for those who watch. Or maybe it's different. Maybe we are the programmers. Maybe consciousness is the key, and the body just an avatar. Maybe outside this game, we are not fragile humans, but beings of another scale. Dreams, meditation, mystical experiences, all may be hints that beyond the screen lies another reality, and when we die, we don't disappear. We simply take off the headset, but imagine the opposite. Imagine we really are just lines of code, that you and I are only data in someone else's memory. Then love is a chemical algorithm. Fear is a bug. Hope is an illusion, written to keep us playing. If so, where is meaning? Here lies the paradox. Even if everything is an illusion, it doesn't cancel our experience. Pain is still pain. Tears are still salty. Laughter is still real. So even in a simulation, meaning exists. Not in the code, but in what we feel. But then the scariest question remains. What if the simulation isn't eternal? What if it has an end? Maybe one day the server will shut down and everything will vanish. People, cities, stars, not the death of one person. Why? But the death of the entire world at once. We fear the apocalypse, and maybe for a reason, because apocalypse isn't divine punishment. It's not the end of the world in a biblical sense, it's just system shutdown. What? If reality is a simulation, then everything we believe eternal is fragile. And the question is this: what matters more? To know the truth, or to live the game as if it were real? But if we allow the idea that the world is a simulation, then a new question arises. What lies beyond it? We can speak of code, laws, algorithms, but that is only the texture of the level. Like in a game, you see trees and stones, but behind them hides the processor, the server, the player. We are used to thinking there must be a creator behind reality. But what if there is only another simulation? Imagine an endless row of mirrors. One reflects another. Each reflection seems real until you step closer. Maybe we are not the first simulation. Maybe we are a simulation within a simulation, and so on infinitely. Scientists call this the nested simulation hypothesis. If one civilization learns to create realities, then inside those realities, beings may arise who create their own, and each of them will believe they live in the real one. Then the dizzying question comes. If behind our universe is another, and behind that another, where does it end? Or maybe there is no end. Maybe the base reality doesn't exist at all. Maybe the very idea of a foundation is an illusion, like chasing a horizon that always slips away. Miss always knew this. The Sufis said, the world is like an onion. Peel one layer and you find another. But there is no core. Buddhists taught, the self is not an essence but a flow. You search for the center but never find it. The Gnostics whispered, this world was made by a demiurge, but beyond him there are other worlds. And beyond them, more. All of them seem to warn, reality is not a foundation but a labyrinth of mirrors. So then ask yourself, if that's true, what makes you real? The body can be seen as code, thoughts as algorithms, even memory can be erased or rewritten. Perhaps the real is not what we see, but what we feel. Tears, laughter, touch, inspiration. If the world is a simulation, maybe emotions are the only key that escapes the program. There is another possibility. What if the simulation was not built to control or to entertain us, but to push us to find the exit, like a game without a manual? You don't know the rules, you don't see the designers, but everything whispers, search. Witches, coincidences, synchronicities, strange dreams. They are not errors, but hints, clues for those bold enough to ask, what's next? And here it becomes interesting. If death is logging out, maybe awakening is possible while still alive. A human can push the walls of the simulation aside, if only for a moment, and glimpse what lies beyond. But what if we are wrong? What if the simulation is not a prison, but a school? What if suffering, joy, love, loss are lessons? What if this strange world is not punishment, but a training ground where the soul learns to become itself? Think of life as a theater. Yes, the roles are written. Yes, the stage is limited. Yes, the script exists, but the actor can still choose how to perform it. One acts with emptiness, another with fire. Maybe that is the point, not to break the code, but to bring it alive, to play it so fully that when the curtain falls, the audience or the creators say, that was real. So if life is a simulation, what matters more? Finding the exit or playing your role so deeply that even the simulation turns into reality? But if everything around us is a simulation, then who are we? Are we just characters? Or are we players who forgot they are holding the controller? Because sometimes life gives strange hints. You face a choice and suddenly feel, I already know the answer. You meet a stranger and feel, I remember them. You dream, and later it comes true. What is that? Coincidence, illusion, or glimpses of memory that we are more than the role? Maybe the soul carries a password, a key that opens doors between levels. And that key is awareness. The more you live on autopilot, the stronger the illusion holds you. But the moment you begin to ask questions, the walls start to crack. Who am I? Why am I here? What comes next? Each question is like a strike against the glass, and one day it may shatter. Some mystics say, death is not the end of the level, but only a reset. You return again in a new body with a new mission. And so it continues until you remember fully. Hindus call this samsara, the wheel of rebirth. Buddhists call it the endless dream. Christians see it as a trial before eternity, but a programmer would say it differently. You respawn until you finish the mission. There is another interpretation. We are not captives of the simulation, but its co-authors. Every decision is new code, every thought a new algorithm, every emotion a new line written into the program. Maybe the universe itself is learning through us, rendering joy and pain to understand what it means to be alive. Maybe we are not actors, but co-writers of the play. Think about it. Why would a programmer make a game without choice? Why create billions of characters if everything is predetermined? Far more interesting is this, to set the rules, but let the players improvise. And maybe that improvisation is the most valuable thing of all. Then, why did the designers include suffering? Why write death, pain, disease into the script? Why not create only joy? Because joy cannot exist without pain. Light cannot exist without darkness, meaning cannot exist without an end. Suffering is not a bug. It is a feature, a mechanic that teaches us to love, to value, to fight. Without pain, there is no depth. Without death, no value. And then a bold thought appears. What if we are the creators? Not outside, but inside. What if each of us is a spark of consciousness playing with itself? We are not prisoners of the program. We are fragments of it, not captives of the game. We are the game itself. Imagine an ocean. Every wave believes, I am separate, but in truth, all waves are the same sea, so are we. We think we are individuals, but deep down, we are the consciousness playing in billions of forms. So the real question shifts. Not are we in a simulation, but what do we do with this simulation? Will we live mindlessly, like NPCs running the same lines, or will we awaken as players? Maybe the point is not to find base reality. Maybe there is no such thing. Maybe the point is to live this one so fully that even illusion becomes eternity. If life is just a simulation, what matters more? Finding the exit? Or turning the game into a work of art? But what if the simulation is not outside at all? What if it is inside us? Think about it. You never touch the world directly. Your eyes don't see reality. They capture light. And the brain builds an image. Your ears don't hear reality. They pick up vibrations, and the brain turns them into sound. Even your sense of touch is nothing more than electrical signals, translated into a feeling. So what you call reality is not the world itself. It is a model your brain creates, a private simulation running behind your eyes. That means everything. Colors, sounds, smells, even time itself is a projection, a convincing illusion, built to keep you alive. Neuroscientists admit the world you perceive is not the real world. It is a version, compressed, simplified, filtered, like a video game HUD that shows only what the player needs to survive. In other words, you have always lived in a simulation, not built by aliens or gods, but built by your own nervous system. Now imagine this. If your personal reality is a simulation, and billions of humans run billions of slightly different versions, then what is the real? Maybe there is no single objective world, only overlapping dreams. Mystics hinted at this long ago. The Buddhists said, the world is mind-made. Hindus spoke of Maya, the veil woven by perception. Modern science simply changes the vocabulary. It calls it neural representation, but the essence is the same. Reality is a construction, and here lies the most radical idea. If reality is generated inside you, then changing your perception changes the world itself. That is why two people can live through the same day, and one calls it paradise, while the other calls it hell. The same event, the same level, but two completely different simulations. So maybe freedom does not mean breaking out of the simulation. Maybe freedom means learning to reprogram your own. Your beliefs are code. Your habits are algorithms. Your fears are firewalls, and your awareness, the ultimate developer's tool. If you dare to use it, you can rewrite your world, not escape it, but transform it. And that brings us to the final paradox. The simulation may be everywhere, outside as the universe, inside as the mind, layer upon layer, mirrors within mirrors. But maybe what matters most is not whether it's real. Maybe what matters is whether you dare to live it as if it is. So the question becomes, if reality is nothing more than the simulation of your own mind, will you keep running the same program on repeat, or will you awaken, take control, and write your own code?